Hey everybody, today I'm going to be going through installing Tokyo Cabinet and Tokyo Tyrant from source. Uh, I'm going to be using Ubuntu 9.10 Server Edition. There's no real reason for that. You can use whatever Linux distribution you feel comfortable with. I happen to be familiar with the Ubuntu shell, so that's what I'm going to be using. This is the third time I'm doing this video tonight, so I'm sorry if I move a little bit faster than people would like. I'm really, it's 2 o'clock in the morning here, and so I kind of want to get this done, but I've been having recording problems, so who knows, maybe I'll have to do this video another time and post both versions, but I'm going to try to do it tonight, and we'll see where I end up. So I have a Linux server here that's got more or less nothing installed on it. Everything's at default. Come on. Everything's at default settings, except for one stupid little package. But I don't know if I can actually get this up and running. That would be great. I'm gonna see if I can make this larger for everybody, and then I should be good to go. I have already downloaded the source packages. You can find them on the Tokyo Cabinet and Tokyo Tyrant websites. They are at 1978.net, Tokyo Cabinet and Tokyo Tyrant. You can find the links, right down here for Tokyo Cabinet and here for Tokyo Tyrant. Once you have the source packages, go ahead and untar them. Do the install for Tokyo Cabinet first. Tokyo Cabinet, obviously Tokyo Tyrant depends upon Tokyo Cabinet, so doing the install for Tokyo Tyrant first isn't really going to work. Pretty standard installs, /configure. For Tokyo Tokyo Cabinet, there's one big option you should be aware of, and that's the --enable-off64 switch. What this will do is it'll tell Tokyo Cabinet to use 64-bit pointers inside of its, for pointing to locations within its database file. This is an absolute requirement if your database files are going to grow beyond 2 gigabytes, which if you're using Tokyo Cabinet and Tokyo Tyrant, they probably are. So for safety, I would recommend always enabling that option unless you have a very, very small database. I believe the documentation says you only need the option on x86 machines. X64 machines will default to 64-bit by default. I haven't had that experience. For me, I've noticed that it's used 32-bit pointers always, unless I specify this option. So for safety, I would say specify the option and you should be good to go. It errored out here. There's 2 compression libraries that Tokyo Cabinet requires. One of them I have installed already, and I can never remember the name, so I can't remember what I need to uninstall. It'll come up with an error when you /configure, and you should be able to find out what the package name is with a couple of Google searches. The one I need now is zlib1g-dev. I'm not sure what the package names are on other distributions. Hopefully they're relatively similar. /configure to enable off64 again. And make works well this time. Go ahead and make. Chug, chug. And go ahead and do the install. hop back out. I'm not going to do any demonstrations of Tokyo Cabinet. For what I've been doing, I need the network interface. Most people will probably be installing Tokyo Tyrant on top of Tokyo Cabinet. Tokyo Cabinet is more meant to embed within another application. It's just a set of functions that you can use to interact with the database. Tokyo Tyrant is what actually exposes the network interface to Tokyo Cabinet, which is what's really useful for, I'd say, most people. .configure. I'm not going to be enabling Lua extensions. If you are enabling Lua extensions, there's two switches you have to be aware of. One is --enable -Lua, and the other is --with Lua equals, and you have to specify the path to your Lua install. I find them kind of a pain, both getting them working and keeping them. You actually have to shut down your database and start it up again in order to register new Lua extensions. I find myself, if I need a new feature, I just add it into the source code. So I've actually added a couple of different functions into the Tokyo Tyrant source code, which I find actually easier than trying to manage Lua extensions. So for my case, I'm just going to run /configure and make. And make install. So now we have Tokyo Cabinet and Tokyo Tyrant installed. If we whip out to user local sbin, relics of a past install here. This is all that's going to be there by default. If you edit this file, ttserv ttserv control is the general file you'll use for starting and stopping your Tokyo Tyrant server instance. It contains a lot of the options, such as which port you should bind which port Tokyo Tyrant is bound to, the directory that Tokyo Tyrant should use to store its data files, as well as log files and all that stuff. The process ID file, which is where it stores its process ID for each unique Tokyo Tyrant instance. If you want to run multiple instances of Tokyo Tyrant on a single server, you're going to have to create multiple ttserv control files that use different process ID files so that they don't conflict when they're trying to start up. When you start up a Tokyo Tyrant server instance, it's going to check that file, and if it exists, it's not going to start up that instance. Log files, pretty straightforward. U-logs are a little different. They're update logs. Tokyo Tyrant uses update logs in order to, I want to get this right, for replication purposes. It supports master-master and master-slave replication, and in order to do that, it needs update logs on the master server for master-slave and on both servers for master-master. ulim size is the size limit of the update log files. It's not the limit of the total size of the update logs. It's the limit for the size of any individual update log. So you will probably have to write, if you're doing replication on huge databases, you'll probably have to write cron jobs to delete really old update log files. It's just going to create a new one every time it hits 256 megabytes. mhost is the network host for the master server, if you're doing master or master slave replication, and mport is the network port to connect to that instance of Tokyo Tyrant. DB name here, this is the actual data file to store Tokyo Tyrant will use to store its data. In baster, which is /var/tt server. We're going to use casket.tch here, and all the tuning parameters go on to the end here. I'm not going to talk about tuning parameters in this video. I never intended to. I'm going to create another video later on that's going to talk about tuning parameters, and they're incredibly important, so I'm actually going to stress that a little bit more later on in the video, but we're not really going to talk about them. Tokyo Cabinet supports, I'm going to say